The Tim Heale Thirsty Thursday live stream from 7 until 9 weekly. Here's your host, Tim Heale.
Do you want me to kick it off?
Yeah.
I've made some notes on this one. Some years ago, I lost my best mate to suicide. He took his own life. Somebody that is determined to take their own life, you don't see an awful lot. You don't see the signs. You don't see the symptoms. And with him, the couple of months leading up to him taking his life, he was did a couple of things out of character. He popped up and come up and saw my wife and I at the time. He was my best mate. I mean, we were on the phone. We'd ring each other probably about half a dozen times a week. We'd have jokes. They'd come up to us for the weekends, and we used to go away on holiday and all sorts of stuff together. He just popping out of the blue. I mean, I'd only spoken to him a few hours beforehand, and all of a sudden he's on the doorstep. Hello, how you doing? And he'd have a coffee and then piss off again. But unbeknown to us, he was popping round seeing other friends, just calling in, and we think that it was to say goodbye. But we just didn't see the signs because there were different friends that we didn't connect with. Now the problem, or some issues that happened after he'd taken his life, was that the family, the impact that it had on the family, particularly the children. So I'm godparents to the children, and now I'm stepdad to the kids, because I won't go to that story. But just a few weeks ago, the youngest son came out. It came out in conversation, because we do talk about him occasionally. And he carried this all these years. It's 2005 this happened, and he carried it to this day. That he thought it was his fault that his dad had taken his life. So that's difficult to deal with at the time. And it's even more difficult to deal with it now, because it wasn't his fault at all. But he's carried that all these years. And it's only now he's been able to let it out. And yes, it's selfish, somebody that takes their life. But there's a reason for them doing it. And not everybody knows the reason why they've done it. And we're all capable of doing it. We've all had those dark thoughts at some stage in our life. And it's the effect that it has on those that are left behind, and the recriminations that go on, the accusations and the feelings that are those that are left behind are affect the most, and those closest to them are affected even more. So the person that is determined to take their life, you probably won't know. You won't recognise the symptoms or anything like that. If they're determined to do it, they will do it. The people that we can save are the people that it's a cry for help. And those people are the ones that we need to stretch out for. Now, I was talking to a mate earlier, and he just put a comment in the chat box here. And just have a read of that. He spent last night with a neighbour that was having a breakdown. So that's somebody that's having a cry for help.
Mm-hmm.
That's somebody that can be helped. Sorry about that.
Okay, first off,
It's,
can I say please don't apologize? I actually want to give you credit, Tim, because um, thank you for sharing and thank you for bringing this topic to the forefront because to take it back to your very first question, how do we change the stigmas and the stories? We do exactly what we're doing right now. So
yeah,
it's all you're doing is showing heart, and I really want to give you credit for opening up this door. I really do. Um, it's a tough topic for everybody. Our family was definitely closely affected by this, and it was hard as an understatement. It was very much. It was like how do we handle this and what do we do? Um, I think that, and I can just speak on a couple of things that it it may seem and feel selfish because so many people are hurt in the long run. In the eyes of the person who is at this point in their life, they feel, I think this is generalization, but this is just from experience. They feel that it's not worth it for them to be around. They are affecting their family in a way that they don't want to do that. And it will never make sense to us because if a person is at the point of taking their life, that there's not we can't apply logic to something that doesn't make sense to us. So unfortunately, I don't think that there is going to be something that makes sense there. The impact that it has on the family, though, I had a very close family of ours. They lost their oldest son, and he's a police sergeant. He did all of it was never on anyone's radar. It wasn't even close to the radar. And in this position, he was the one responsible for looking at the mental health of all of his officers. Nobody thought to look at the actual sergeants who were doing it completely. He's left kids. It was caught them all completely off guard. The stigma the family continued to go through afterwards, I think we can do better as humans. I think that we
yeah,
can do a lot better. I think that was actually, it's like they've gone through loss multiple times over. And I just think that's a horrific thing for us to do to other humans who have experienced something like that. So I think that we have to be better at not putting people through that. And in reference to your friend, the son, as you're saying, he carried it for that long. Part of the communication, I think that when things like this happen is having those open communications. Yes, I'm sure if I were to say to a young child, your dad didn't do this because of you, he might not believe that, but maybe opening up those conversations early. And even if it's not opened up early, at least now, it's great that he can have that open conversation with you. I think that
mm.
that's fantastic. I think that's a huge start. So I have more, but I'm going to leave it at that and
Yeah.
see what everyone else has to say.
Well, well. At the time, for the kids, after it happened, very quickly there was a team that came in called CAMS. I'm not
Hmm.
quite sure um, what the acronym is, but it's bereavement counselling for the kids. And once they've established that they're all right, then that's it. They're gone out of it.
Yeah.
Um, and there's no real follow up at all. And there hasn't been any follow up in the intervening years from then till now. And it's only it came up in a conversation that
Mhm.
it happened. So but at the time there was a lot of speculation, a lot of things going on um, around what had happened, and people speculating and pointing the finger and blaming other
Yep.
people for what had happened. And it really wasn't anybody else's fault. It
Mm-mm.
was it was what was going on inside his head. I mean, we can speculate a few things. I mean, I think, if I'm right, he'd recently been diagnosed with, I think it was testicular cancer, which I think probably had a major effect. Or he certainly had a scare, and that may have been a contributing factor. But we'll never know, not until we get up to the pearly gates and have a word. And at the time, my late wife, I mean, she died a year and a day before him, or after him. He died on the 11th of November 2015, and Sandra died on the 10th of November 2006, so 5 and 6. So November's a pretty tough month for both Ro and I, who we've been married now for 12 years, and we've known each other for the last 40 years, so we're comfortable with each other, and we can have that conversation. We talk about them regularly. But at the time, it was a real challenging time, and every November's a challenging time. It gets slightly easier as the years go on, but for us, it's still there. There's still that element of blame. There's still that element, could we have done something? And that's the big one. Could we have done something? And if we had, would he have still been here? But that I guess is like so many stories, and at the moment, it's not being highlighted enough that there are so many veterans taking their own lives at the moment, every day. You don't. It's not hitting the mainstream media. The mainstream media, I've stopped watching it. It makes me so angry. But it's only the smaller stations that are highlighting these problems, and until we get this out in the open, and we put in place systems where people know that if they're struggling with that and they've got those thoughts, there are places, there are people that can help. And like I say, the people that you do find that are trying it somewhere out in the open somewhere, where they're going to be found, it's a cry for help. The ones that are going to do it anyway, you're not going to capture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, sorry to be so gloomy. Normally we have such fun.
No need to apologize.
I think
But,
it's
Not
it all.
but yeah, let's lighten it up a bit. Let's find a way through this. Let's find a way of being able to bring this to the forefront of people's attention. Let's destigmatise people that are having these thoughts and attempting to take their lives, because there are a lot more. There's a lot more going on than meets the eye.
You're really amen to that. And you're really bringing it all very full circle in the fact that it comes back to destigmatizing mental health and the conversation that goes around it, and the ability to find the resources that you need before and during and after any kind of a mental storm that you're going through, being able to talk and connect with one another and let each other know that we really care and that we want to be there. Like Nick being able to be there for a friend and spend that time with them. The friend was able to find a resource in Nick and be able to give that, and they knew that Nick was a safe space in that moment. So destigmatizing it, opening up the conversation, letting our kids know that it's okay to talk about it, being able to talk about grief in and of itself, because grief comes in a myriad of forms, and it does not stop the day after the funeral. It goes on for years and years and years and years. And so being able to talk about, oh my gosh, this is how I'm feeling, and today I'm fine, but tomorrow I'm an absolute wreck and I don't know what to do. It's all a part of these same conversations, but people don't talk about them. Even I'm a huge advocate on end of life planning, and because you just never know when something's going to happen, whether you lose a loved one suddenly from like a drunk driver on the road, or an immediate health crisis, whatever that is. You never know when you're going to lose somebody. And so I am constantly telling people, end of life planning, let's stop making this a taboo subject where people are like, that's morbid and weird. No, let's bring it all out of obscurity. Let's start having those conversations so that when things happen, we know what to do, and we know how to help and support each other. We know how to nurture through it. And it all starts with, let's talk about our feelings. Let's talk about where we're at. Let's talk about what we want. We're just full circle. Once again, where do we start? Ground level.
Well, funny you mentioned ground level. Harry fell off the roof the other day and found ground level at the bottom, and he didn't survive it. And we've got his funeral on the 24th of this month.
I am so sorry.
That's all right. we actually have had quite a laugh about it. I mean, the hottest day of the year, and he's up on the roof, hosing off his solar panels, and as far as we can work out, his tripped, fell, hit the bottom, and the funny part about it, there was an ambulance across the road having their lunch, and they had to call it in to be able to attend it. The air ambulance came in. Apparently they worked on him for about 45 minutes to no avail. But it's sudden death like that is a challenge to deal with. Mm-hmm. When somebody dies and they've had a prolonged illness, it's slightly easier to deal with. A sudden death is hard to. I mean, it's a shock to everybody.
Absolutely.
So being able to talk to the family about it. And it's further down the road. Everybody, so this period in time, people are bringing flowers, cards, and then swarming around like bees around a honey pot. It's 2 or 3 months. It's 10 months. It's a year. It's a couple of years down the line.
Yeah.
Are they still going to be doing that? That's when you need to be friends, and that's what friends are all about. And we've had that over the years, so we've got friends. And say Harry was one of those friends, and Harry and I have been mates for about 47 years, maybe, something like that. But we were mates together, and we were actually on a Saturday. This happened on a Tuesday. On a Saturday night, we were going to a Talavera dinner. We were going to a top table dinner, and Harry and Kath were going to come with us. We went anyway because why wouldn't we? We paid for the tickets, but Harry would have wanted us to do it anyway. And his daughter-in-law's birthday was on the Thursday, and I know Ship's Cats turned up. And they went to Harry Potter World up at Leavesden. And life goes on. When somebody's gone, the living has to carry on living. And it's important that does happen. And we're going to celebrate his life. At the funeral, I think he's actually he's going to be in a minion suit. He loved his minions and he loved Harry Potter, so he's going to be dressed up as a minion.
Wow!
And everybody's going to be. I think there's one or two others dressing as a minions as well, but it was bright colours and stuff like that. So they'd already had a conversation about funerals and one thing and another, and so it's going to be a celebration of his life.
Yeah.
So we did a Harry special a couple of weeks ago, remembering that week that it happened, and his daughter and wife came on, and we had such a laugh. So anybody's not seen that episode, pop back and have a look. I think it was the fourth? It was quite a good episode. We had lots of people in, and we had lots of people popping in and out, wishing us best and all the rest of it for Harry. So it's a celebration of a life. It's not mourning a loss, and I think that's important to go forward and to look after those that are left.
Mm-hmm.
And it's exactly the same for anybody that has taken a different route and has taken their life, and it's important to do exactly the same, treat them exactly the same, because whether it's been an accident, whether it's been a prolonged illness, or whether it's been a suicide, they've had the life, and it's part of them, and it's why we should destigmatise it, why we should talk about it, and keep it out there.
Yeah.
I think it's important that life, like you say, Tim, life, it doesn't stop with your life. Life, life is a thing, and in a way, I think it helps to remember that we're actually all connected, and everything we do is affecting everybody else. And like I say, life, even though our life ends in whatever way, life continues, and it's kind of, I think sometimes we make it very sort of cellular and final with ourselves, and we forget that life is actually something that is continuing and is connected. Like I said, I think the Dalai Lama says like the 8 billion or the 7.8 billion. It's all about the mass of life that we are. I just wanted to address something Nick said about the mental health services at the minute. In the UK, on average, after registering that you need mental health attention, the average waiting time can be up to 45 days to see somebody in the UK. A lot can happen in 45 days. Yeah. And so there's a big push to try and see why that is the way that is. I know that there's a lot of healthcare departments also that are suffering lag, but for mental health problem, you can get to a really dark place, and to be told in a letter, a very formal, impersonal letter, that your appointment for seeing someone is in 45 days' time, it can be enough to tip you over the edge in itself. I would imagine, like, so much can happen. So yes, I totally agree that the mental health services in this country certainly isn't anywhere near where it needs to be at the moment. The other thing, I think, when you talked about, Tim, the gloominess, I think sometimes I like the expression that you need to be in a dark place to see the light. And this kind of means that you need to kind of allow yourself to be there so that you can see the light and then get yourself out of it. I think asking all of the what could have been done differently. I've been there myself with the what could have been done differently, and I think it's, rather than finding an answer to the question, I think it's more to do with finding peace with the question and just letting it be what it is, rather than having the answer. And yeah, the end of life planning that Crystal was talking about, it all again is related to life doesn't stop with life. It's how do we recognize that everything we do is connected, and life continues just after this body is just a sack of meat essentially, and it's serving its purpose. It's more beautiful than that. I'm kind of being funny with it, but not aesthetically, but what I mean. The human is beautiful, is what I'm saying. I'm just thinking how I just heard that how it sounded when I said it back to myself. I was like, oh God, Chris, Get
you
over
speak for
yourself,
yourself.
Chris.
I'm gorgeous. I mean, underneath this gorgeous exterior, there's a bit of a train wreck going on.
Fabulous.
But I am gorgeous.
Yes, but the human is a beautiful thing. It's
Yeah.
not just a sack. But you know what I mean. So after life does continue.
It's the single biggest guarantee that we've all got in life. We will all die one day,
It will affect all of us.
and that's everybody. We won't
Yeah.
necessarily pay taxes. Well, some of us still do, getting a pension. They're taking a pension in tax, but we will all die, whether you pay taxes or not.
Yeah.
So that's a guarantee. That's the only guarantee that you'll ever get, is that one day it will all end for you, and it's those that are left behind that that have to carry on, and So
Can I share
where
one
are
thing?
we?
Can I,
Yeah.
can I share one thing? I was trying to figure out the best way to share this, but I know it will help somebody, is that if you, and even as Nick is questioning there, when you have somebody close to you and this is something you're experiencing directly, it's like leaving the lines of communication open that are not judgment, which is exactly what you're doing. I have a standing open agreement that it's like, if my phone rings and it's this person, I know if they need help, they can come. No questions, no judgment, nothing there. But one of the conversations that we've had that not everybody will understand, and is just that I can't control what they choose to do. It is not mine to own, as hard as that is. And that I will walk beside, I'll support in any way, shape, or form. But it's actually come down to a very open conversation, because this is something that we have experienced, is that if this is a choice that you make, that is your choice. And I will be sad, I will miss you, but I can't carry that. I will know that I've done everything that I can. And it led into such an open conversation that I'm so glad it went that direction. And I think that that's important, is again, like, how real and open can we be about the difficult topics? And it really did open this up. So there have been a number of times since then where my phone has rang or a message has come in and said, I need some help. And I'm like, okay, all right, what can I do? And so just normalizing it, opening the doors, and maybe as humans, like, we don't have to come in, fix, swoop, change the day, do everything. Sometimes we just have to be there, and without a whole lot of questions or expectations involved. But I do know that that has made a difference in our situation.
And I think that's an important point, is you don't necessarily need to do anything.
No.
You just have to let the person know that you are there for them.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do make that call, make sure you've got the time, or just drop everything else. Nothing else matters other than giving that person your time to make them feel at least better about themselves. Make them feel that they are wanted, that they will be missed. And I think that's another key issue that we need to take.
The Tim Heale Thirsty Thursday live stream from 7 until 9 weekly.